Okay, myself is Srinivas. I'm having 16 plus years experience. I started my career as UNIX administrator. I worked on SCO Unix, Sun Solaris, Linux, HP Unix, IBM AX, all Unix operating systems. I was into storage technologies, Veritas Volume Manager, Veritas Cluster, Veritas Net Backup. Now I'm working on AWS DevOps and Azure DevOps. In our environment, we have both AWS and Azure Cloud. So this is the demo class for shell scripting. The duration is 30 days. What is prerequisite? Linux fundamentals, Linux basics. This is for 1 week. 1 week we'll have a classes, Linux fundamentals. After 1 week, we'll start the shell scripting. Who can learn the shell scripting? What are the roles and responsibilities of shell scripting? Generally, there are two types of programming. One is called programming language. Programming languages, the other one, scripting language. Programming and scripting language. You know about the programming languages like Java, .NET, Python, all this comes under programming, which are comes under scripting language. Shell script, PowerShell script. Perl, all this comes under scripting language. In all Unix operating systems, Unix flavors, they're going to use shell script. All Unix operating systems like Solaris, HP Unix, IBM AX, Linux, all comes under Unix operating system. They're going to use shell script. PowerShell script on Windows. So Microsoft developed the same scripting language. They named as a PowerShell script. So there comes difference between programming languages and scripting language. Already we have programming languages, why should we go for scripting language? Or already we have scripting languages, why we have to go for programming language? So by using scripting languages, you can't develop applications. What are the applications? Applications are classified as three types. Those are standalone, web application, and mobile applications. These are the types of applications they're going to use the real time. What do you mean by standalone? Whenever we install operating system in a laptop or desktop, Windows operating system, some applications are by default deployed. Some applications are by default deployed. Those are called standalone. Example for standalone, the calculator, camera, calendar, all this comes under standalone. So by default, installed by default deployed when installed Windows operating system. The meaning of standalone, my application you can't access, my laptop applications you cannot access, your laptop application I cannot access. For example, all these are standalone. So my laptop applications you cannot access, your laptop application I cannot access. That is the meaning of standalone. Only from local system, not from remote system. Web applications again classified as two types. One is static web application. The other one is dynamic web application. Static and dynamic. The meaning of static is no credentials required to access static web application. We don't require any credentials like login name and password. We don't require any login name and password to access the static web application. Example for this e-papers. We can read the e-paper like any paper we can read from internet. Like Deccan Chronicle. Open the browser, type Deccan Chronicle. Doesn't ask any username and password. Anyone can access, anyone can read these applications. No credentials required. To deploy this static web application, we need a web server. We need a web server. If it is Windows, we have a service called IIS. IIS stands Internet Information Service. These are called static web page. You might have heard about HTML. What is HTML? To develop this static web page. So there are separate people, separate developer who write the code, HTML code to develop the static web application. But after develop the static web application, developer job is to develop the code for application. But after that, you need to deploy. To deploy, I need an operating system. If I deploy that on Windows operating system, I need a service called IIS, Internet Information Service. If same application want deploy on Unix or Linux, then we need a service called Apache. Apache is a web server. It works all Unix operating systems. So this is called static web application. Any application which we don't require credentials, this comes under static. Dynamic web application required credentials, username and password. Example, we can tell a lot of examples like Facebook, required credentials, Gmail, Yahoo, Flipkart, even Google Pay, Phone Pay, all this comes under dynamic, which require credentials, login name, and password. All this comes under dynamic, which require credentials. Another difference between static and dynamic. In static web application, the content we cannot edit, the content we cannot modify, the content we cannot delete. Even when you log in as ATM user with ATM card, that application also dynamic, required a PIN number, username and password. Your ATM card is the username, and whatever PIN number you're providing, that is called password. So dynamic web application always communicate with database server. In the backend, we have a database where the PIN number is in the database. After logging as ATM user, you can say how much amount to have, where the data is in the database server. So dynamic web application always communicate with database server. So this is my front end. This is my front end, and back end is database. So this application they're going to develop by using Java, .NET, Python, mobile application. Any apps we are downloading from Play Store, this comes under mobile application. So they're going to write this mobile application, this code or application by using Android. There are separate developers, Android developers or iOS. Their job is to develop this mobile application. So that is difference between programming and scripting language. So you want to develop any one of these application, you can't develop this by using scripting language. Scripting languages has some limitation. You can't develop this by using scripting language. We need a programming language. Then why do you need to learn this scripting language? Scripting language is only for limitation. Scripting language is having a lot of limitations. It is used for only to write the script for backup scripts, automation of backups, to write the scripts for user and group creation. Generally, as I told you, the prerequisite is Linux fundamentals, Linux basics. If you have knowledge on Linux administration, is a added advantage. It is added advantage. So you can ask, after learning the scripting language, shell script, will I get a job? Only with scripting language, you never get a job. Apart from scripting language, you are looking for as a developer. Apart from this, you need to learn SQL, PL SQL. Comes under purely developer. Lot of jobs only SQL, PL SQL, but no jobs only script. You want to be as a purely developer. After scripting, shell scripting, you better learn SQL, PL SQL. But the problem here is, you want to go as a developer, mandatory is BTech computer science. It should be a BTech and computer science. They'll consider only BTech computer science. If you're not BTech computer science, your resume never shortens. Otherwise, you have to keep experience. You can't apply as a fresher. You have to keep experience. Means what? You have 1 year gap after the degree. That 1 year you can keep as experience. 2 years gap, 2 years experience. 3 years gap, 3 years experience. To learn, if you have a gap, learn shell scripting with SQL, PL and try for the jobs. But for freshers, any degree is not eligible. What about the guys who don't have programming skills, programming knowledge, scripting like programming languages, programming skills? What about the guys who don't have BTech computer science? Yes, for those, learn shell scripting with AWS, AWS Cloud, or shell scripting with DevOps. The advantage of this This purely comes under admin. No programming knowledge required. Shell script is not that much of stuff like Java. To learn Java, you have to spend minimum 6 months to learn everything. Only for learning purpose. Core Java, Advanced Java, only for learning purpose, you need to spend 6 months. And you want to be perfect on that, again, you need to spend 3 to 4 months. But whereas shell scripting within 1 month you can learn. It is not that much of stuff. So for career growth, learn shell scripting with AWS Cloud or shell scripting with DevOps. Any degree eligible. Or shell scripting with Linux administration. As a DevOps engineer or a cloud admin, as Linux administrator, sometimes you have to write some small scripts for automation. Generally, the purpose of learning the scripting language to do the automation. What kind of automation we can do here? A job automation, your backup automation, monitoring the services, or applications, and monitoring the resource. All this comes under automation. But don't expect developing the application like static, dynamic, or standalone. To understand the shell scripting, first you need to understand the architecture of Windows and Unix or Linux. So what is Windows architecture and what is Unix architecture? You have a laptop or desktop. A laptop desktop is nothing but your hardware. Laptop is a hardware which contains CPU, processor, RAM, keyboard, mouse, monitor. All these are hardware components. The laptop is a hardware. When you install Windows operating system on top of your hardware, you're going to install Windows. On top of this Windows, we are the user. So this is my hardware. On top of this, install operating system. Install the operating system. On top of the operating system, any Windows family, Windows 8, Windows 10, Windows 11, any OS. On top of that, we are the user. So in Microsoft, user always interact with operating system. Operating system we also call kernel. Kernel, operating system both are same. No difference. Sometimes we call it as a kernel or sometimes we call it operating system. So we always user always interact with the kernel and kernel will interact with the heart. In mobile, Android. What is Android? Nothing but operating system. We also call kernel. iOS. iOS also operating system. We also call kernel. You want to see the kernel version. Go to in your mobile, go to about phone. In about phone, we'll see that kernel. We can't see that Android. We see that kernel version. So what is kernel? Nothing but operating system. Is the software which interacts with the hardware device. A kernel is the interface between the user and the hardware. The interface between the user and the hardware. Even mobile also hardware. So everything by default, everything is a hardware. We want to access any hardware devices, we need a software. The software, we call it as a kernel. Or you can say a kernel is the file which contains all system drivers. What is the meaning of system drivers? When I install Windows in your laptop or desktop, for all the hardware devices like keyboard, mouse, monitor, hard disk, processor, memory, for all the hardware devices, the drivers automatically install. We are not installing manually any driver for your laptop. All these drivers are automatically installed at the time of installation of operating system. Where these drivers are in the kernel. It's a file. It's a file which contains all device drivers. For example, what is the kernel file in Windows? The kernel file Windows we call it as command.com and io.6. Both the files we call it as kernel. Both the files we call as a kernel. What is command.com? Command.com contains all the commands, Windows commands. How to run the commands, how to go to command prompt, press Windows R, type CMD, go to command prompt. Type dir to see the files and folders. Type cls, clear the screen. md, make directory. cd, change directory. rd, remove directory or remove folder. Directory or folder both the same. This is called command.com. All these commands are in the command.com. What io.6 file contains all system drivers. How to see the system drivers? Go to device manager. All these are system drivers. These drivers are installed automatically at the time of installation of operating system. We cannot uninstall it. We can't remove it. System drivers cannot be uninstalled, cannot be removed. These drivers are by default installed while installation of operating system. So both the files we call it as a kernel. So user always interact with the kernel and the kernel will interact with the hardware. So this is Windows architecture. Coming to the Unix architecture, the same hardware. On top of this, we are going to install operating system. On top of this, we have a shell. On top of the shell, we are the users. Hardware. On top of this, kernel. On top of the kernel, there is a shell. On top of the shell, we are the user. So that is difference between Windows architecture, Unix architecture. What is the difference? No shell in Windows, shell only in Unix. So what is shell? A shell is the command interpreter. Or a shell is the interface between the user and the kernel. In Microsoft, user can directly interact with the kernel, whereas Unix, you cannot directly interact with the kernel. Will always interact with the shell, shell interact with the kernel. For example, you want to use the mouse. What is mouse and keyboard? That is hardware, where the drivers are in the kernel. But you can't access the mouse or keyboard directly from the kernel. We'll first interact with the shell, shell interact with the kernel. In Windows, we have a command called dir. What is dir? To see the files and folders. Where this command is in the kernel. CLS, clear the screen. MD, make folder, make directory. All these commands are in the kernel. Unix, like dir in Windows, here we have ls. ls lists the files. Like dir Windows, ls lists the files. Where the command is not in the kernel, in the shell. pwd, present working directory, or print working directory. Clear the screen. mkdir, make directory. All these commands are not in the kernel, in the shell. That is different between Windows architecture and Unix architecture. So this is the Unix. ls lists the files, pwd present working directory. All these commands are in the shell. How to know the user default shell? Echo $shell. What is the shell? Default bash. why we call shell scripting? We are writing the script in the shell. That's why we call shell scripting. If we write the code in the Java, we call it as a JavaScript in Java code. If we write the code in Python, we call it as a Python code. If we write the code in the shell, we call it as a shell scripting. So without a shell, you cannot interact with the kernel. So shell is a command interpreter or interface between the user and the kernel. That's why we are calling as a shell scripting. So all the Java files extension .java. Write the code in Java, the file extension should be .java. If write the code in Python, the file extension should be .py. Means Python. Likewise, if write the code in shell, extension is .sh. .sh stand shell script. So all the shell scripts are and with .sh. If I deploy a Tomcat application, Tomcat is an application server. There is a script in that script file, name of the file is Catalina.sh. Because of .sh is a shell script. All the shell scripts end with .sh. This is the introduction class. Any questions? So Monday we'll discuss about what are the types of operating systems and what is the shell scripting, difference between compilation, what is how to compile the program, what is compilation, all this stuff. Any questions today, class? So Monday we'll have a session. What is the operating system? How many types of OS we have? What is client? What is server? The difference between Windows and Linux. All this stuff is discussed on Monday. So don't stop your shell scripting. Learning with only with shell scripting. After that, better you go for Linux administration or AWS Cloud or DevOps. Don't stop your learning only with shell scripting. We need some added courses.
There with AWS and shell scripting, we can look for job.
Yeah, definitely.
The profile will be AWS admin or like what?
No, your profile will be on AWS, but knowledge and shell scripting.
Okay, the job profile is called like AWS admin, right?
Admin.
Okay.
DevOps engineer, knowledge and shell scripting. Linux administrator, knowledge and shell scripting. So profile get weighted. If we add the shell scripting in AWS or DevOps or Linux administration, 100% get shortlisted.
Okay, sir.
So see you guys on Monday.
Tomorrow there is no class, no? Monday will
Tomorrow
be there.
class, Monday.
Okay.
5 days a week.
Okay, sir.